Okay, everybody. I want to go over the body landmark terms for this particular video. And if you look at this particular muscle man, this region here would be your frontal. This would be your orbital region, which is going to be your eye. Your nasal region will be your nose. Oral region is obviously your mouth, which you can't quite see, but the inside of there. And then your occipital region is in the back of the head here. So this would be your occipital region back here. So if we're going to move on, sort of the arm here, this point here would be your deltoid region, but the very top of the deltoid would be your acromial, right? So your acromial, your deltoid region here. This would be your brachial region, which is going to be your arm. This would be your antebrachial or antebrachium here. Your olecranon process or olecranon region would be your elbow here. Your carpals would be your wrist, and your digits here would be your fingers. Though in this particular model, those digits are balled into a fist. So if we move on to the lower appendage here, crural can really refer to the whole leg itself, or crural could also refer to sort of this anterior portion of the leg, right? So we could say, so just so that you understand, crural could refer to the whole leg itself or into the front part of the leg. The sural region is the very back part of the leg, right? So your calf. So when you think of your calf, that would be your sural region. And when we go in the future in the nervous system, we'll talk about that sural nerve, which actually cuts right through that calf. We have our femoral region, which should be pretty easy, right? That's to be where your femur is. Your popliteal would be in the very back, right? In the back of your, the back of your kneecap here. Your patellar region will be here. Patellar region will be your kneecap. The popliteal will be the very back of your kneecap. Your calcaneal will be your heel, right? You did the point here, your heel. And then plantar would be the bottom of your foot, which you can't quite see here. So if we move on to the dorsal or back region, your vertebral region would be where your vertebrae would be at, right? Your scapular region would be here, where your scapula would be. Your lumbar would be in the very back, right? Down back here. Actually, I'm sorry, your lumbar would be here, sacral would be here. But you can more so see it on this particular model here. You can see that your lumbar is going to be here, and then your sacral kind of curves out like that. And then finally here would be your gluteal region, right? And your gluteal region is, as you would imagine, just your butt, right? So there they go right there. And then we've already talked about the sacral region, which would be here or there. The other things too regarding there are these cavities here. So if you look up here, this would be your cranial cavity, your thoracic cavity, your abdominal cavity, and your vertebral cavity. Just know that your cranial cavity and your vertebral cavity equal your dorsal cavity, while your thoracic, abdominal, and pelvic cavity are going to be in your anterior or ventral body cavity. So just kind of keep those in mind. And a good question we could ask you, hey, what organ is in the cranial cavity, or what structure is in the vertebral cavity, right? Hopefully you would know that one would be the brain and the other would be the spinal cord. Finally, the body planes here, and you can see this on page 4 of your book, and that if you're cutting someone across the midline here, like to left and right, that would be your median plane or your mid-sagittal plane here, right? So sometimes we call that the sagittal plane too. And then if we were cutting someone from front to back, that will be called the frontal plane or the coronal plane, right? And then if we're separating the superior inferior portions of the body, it will be a transverse plane right here. So, and you can see an example on this on figure 4 on page 4. Okay, all right, so hopefully that is it. Oops, I forgot to tell you about this one, which I think I said, but I may not, that the head region would be your cephalic region, right? So just wanted to make sure that I covered that. All right, so hopefully that's it. And if there's any other questions, let me know.